What is going on, everybody? My name is Jake with Code 4 Defense, and today we're out here on the range taking a look at the VZ61 Skorpion. Let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? Like I said, today we're out here on the range taking a look at the VZ61 Skorpion, manufactured by Checkpoint. This is actually manufactured out of the Czech Republic and imported into the United States. I picked this little guy up from Recon Ordnance, is who imported it through Checkpoint USA. So full disclosure on this thing, I'm not getting paid or endorsed, anything like that, by anybody to bring you this review. I picked this gun up through our company because, I'll be honest, this is kind of one of my dream guns to own. And little spoiler on this thing, it did not disappoint. This is by far one of the coolest guns that I have shot. So we'll get into the full review on it. We're going to work front to back, top to bottom, just like we always do. So starting here at the front, it's actually got a threaded muzzle, 1/2x28 for all of your popular suppressor options. And as we go directly back of that, probably the most notable feature of the Skorpion is going to be the folding stock. So it sits just on the other side of the front of the muzzle there, and as you can see, flips out nicely into a pretty locked position. There's a little bit of play in that, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Working further back, you can see it's got a set of iron sights, which also capture the folding stock. So as the folding stock closes, it locks nicely into place right around that front sight right there. Continuing back even further here, you can see it's actually a top eject firearm, which is kind of interesting. So as the bolt cycles, the rounds actually get kicked out through the top of that. Kind of a cool little design. It's kind of interesting as you're shooting it. You know, as you're firing rounds, they're coming straight up, and then a couple seconds later they rain down on top of you. So it's kind of a funny little, kind of a funny way to eject rounds, but it's a very Eastern Bloc European type. Also, speaking of the ejection, the bolt that reciprocates is charged by these two dimples on the side there, or little nubs on the side. It's not the greatest purchase, but it's enough that you get done what you need to, and it doesn't stick out too far on either side to cause an issue with the firearm. The kind of cool thing about that actually is when you get a magazine in place, it is super easy to press check, because you just come over top of it, push that back, and you can kind of press check to see if you got a round in the chamber or not, which is, I'm sure, not an intended feature, but it's a pretty cool one nonetheless. Continuing back on the gun is your rear sight, and kind of, I guess, ambitious of the gun itself is it's got two different sight apertures, one for 150 and one for 75 meters. So I don't know that I'd be pushing 32 ACP out to 150 meters, but I guess if you felt so inclined, you've got the sight picture for it. Continuing back, like I said, this is manufactured in the Czech Republic, imported into the USA through checkpoint by Recon Ordnance. And the way these come is as a pistol, and you can actually see, I doubt that you can see on the camera, but there's an engraving on the side here that says that it's a pistol, and that's how it's transferred in. We converted this one to an SBR, and I'm not going to get into the nuances of how you do that. Understand that there are a couple of different ways. However, the way that we do it is far more expensive than any standard person. You can pay your $200 tax stamp and get a Form 1 and do this yourself, which is, if you're going to do this gun, you kind of have to. The adapter on the back screws onto the back plate of the firearm right there, with two included screws on the adapter that came with it. So I actually had one of these wireframe stocks previous to buying this gun, but Recon Ordnance sells the adapter with the stock for about $200. And would I say that's worth it? To be able to do that, yeah, it's 100% worth it. I'm not going to lie. Continuing back, we'll talk about the stock here. Definitely not the most comfortable stock, but it's pretty serviceable. You kind of have to tuck it into your cheek here to get a good sight picture on it, and then it works out pretty well, actually. Like I said, it folds together really nice and clicks in as a single package like that. So easily the coolest feature of the Skorpion. If you're going to do it, while the pistol version of this, just firing this as a pistol, just lining up the sights and getting a normal shooting grip with it is a ton of fun. Being able to knock that stock out and get a good grip on it coming up, you can get very accurate shots on target with this thing very rapidly, because it's got essentially no recoil in 32 ACP. Continuing down, we've got actually some of the best markings that I've seen on a firearm. I don't know that they'll come across in the camera or not, but they're just very well done. The machining quality on this lower receiver is absolutely stunning. The upper receiver is fantastic. And I guess I should note right now that this is a newly manufactured firearm. It's not like this was previously manufactured with a new lower, just a old upper. This is a brand new firearm. Also continuing, we've got the magazine and magazine release here on the left side of the firearm. The magazine kind of sticks every now and again. As I've used it, I've gotten used to being able to strip it and throw the magazine. And if you push the button, it will fall out on its own. But when you're doing shooting drills and stuff, it doesn't work well to do it that way. I found it was better to come across, hit the button, and then rip, and you can get that out pretty well. This piece down here is actually a bolt hold open, and so it's not super easy to do, but you can push that down and it locks the bolt to the rear. So the gun, interestingly enough, with the magazine, an empty magazine, it actually has a last round bolt hold open. So when you go to insert a new magazine, I can do it every once in a while, but it's not 100% reliable way, is just come up here with your finger and just release that bolt. So as you put that magazine in, you just hit it with your finger and it drops forward, making reloads and getting back on target a little bit quicker. As we continue back, it's got a safety, and in the real VZ61, it's fully automatic as a submachine gun. This would have two positions as opposed to just the single safe and fire position. There would be one in the middle that would be fully automatic. The safety, obviously, it's not my favorite safety, because when you come up and on target, you almost have to break your grip to get enough distance to be able to get it to the fully fired position. A couple times when I came out of the holster and pushed it, I would miss and just be slightly out, and so I wouldn't be able to press the trigger. So it's just one little thing. It's certainly not, for a gun design in the late 50s, early 60s. This is a pretty cool design for them at the time because I think it was efficient for what they were looking for, especially if I was going to go to fully automatic, which if I carried this gun is exactly what I would do, knowing that I was shooting 32 ACP at somebody. But for single, it's a little bit of a far travel. If that would have been in half, man, this thing would be really quick coming out of the holster, getting it off safe. Coming back even further, the trigger is extremely nice. It's got that much take up right there, and then a little bit of creep and a brake. So here is the creep, that's the brake, and then there's zero over travel after that. It's pinned to the wall. Here's the reset, very quick reset. And let me tell you, if you were so inclined, you could run this gun extremely fast. The trigger on it is absolutely fantastic. Coming back even further, we've got a wooden hand grip. The one that this came with was actually the plastic. It's kind of a shiny black plastic, and I had to get rid of that, obviously. It just doesn't work with the original look of this thing. The original brown grips are just absolutely the way to go with this gun. I mean, that just is absolutely beautiful. So this is not a newly manufactured grip. This is one from an original kit that I purchased and put onto the gun. Underneath is the rate reducer, and if this was a fully automatic gun, it would have the rate reducer installed that would allow you to change the rate of fire on the fully automatic version of this gun. So we'll talk a little bit about the magazines. The ones that I purchased with this are the 20-round magazines, and you can also purchase 10-round magazines. Some of the kits online that you see come with 10-round magazines as opposed to these 20 rounds. And the 10-round magazines were originally intended for when this gun came, when it was issued to soldiers as their kind of personal defense weapon, and that's kind of what this was the first personal defense weapon. The 10-round magazines were the ones that would fit in the holsters, and then you had 20-round magazines for backups. And I would say firing this thing fully automatic, you'd burn through that 10 rounds just about instantly before you'd have to switch over. So speaking of the magazines, like I said, they're steel framed, steel follower, steel bases. They've got these holes in the back so you can kind of see a window into the magazine where you're at for your round count. That's about 10 rounds, and that's about 20 or almost fully loaded. So it gives you a quick way to look and see, do I still have rounds left or not, or how far down am I on my rounds. The magazines fit in the gun very nice. They click into place. Everything about this gun kind of took a little bit of a break-in period, so I needed to run it for several hundred rounds before it is running as well as it is right now. I had a couple of hiccups in the first part of it, but since then I have not had any issues with the gun whatsoever. All right, so giving you my kind of thoughts and impressions on the VZ61. This thing is just so much fun to shoot, and it's a gun that I always wanted to have. And I've never shot one before. I've never held one in my hands, but I just knew that this is kind of one of those that I wanted to get. And I can tell you that I'm not disappointed at all. This thing is top-notch quality. It is extremely fun to shoot. It performs exceptionally well, and it's just quality, to be honest with you. Everything about it is just very fun. If you have any inkling to pick one of these up, absolutely do so. The company that I purchased it through, like I said, Recon Ordnance, I paid, I believe, $900 for the pistol. I had the brace, which was about $30 when I purchased it, and then the adapter to allow the brace to screw onto the back was included in that $900 price. So the cost of it to the fun ratio is far exceeded, in my opinion. It is just an absolute blast to shoot this gun. And some of the things that I picked up as I was running it, as I kind of previously talked about, you kind of want to make sure that you get the magazine depressed before you start to go to grab it. Otherwise it'll catch. As you're firing it from the magazine, or using the magazine as almost kind of a foregrip, you don't want to put your thumb high and forward like you would on a traditional firearm, because you'll hit your charging handle right there. And it doesn't really hurt, it just could cause a malfunction on the gun. So what I found myself doing was I would index off of the magazine release right here. And so I'd put my thumb just behind it, and that would allow me to get up onto the gun, work the trigger, and then when I came to a reload, my thumb was already right there to be able to strip the magazine, grab a new one, and put it in to rack it. The charging handles, kind of interesting. Like I said previously, they're just kind of small little nubs on the side of the gun that allow you to get enough of a purchase to run the gun, and you can kind of do that one-handed or one finger release of the bolt when it's locked open. The cool thing, like I said, is I just think it's neat to be able to press check the gun just by doing that and looking into the chamber to see if it's loaded. But again, overall, this is just an extremely fun gun. And to be honest, one of the main reasons that I purchased it was so that I could develop a holster for it. And I've kind of teased this on our Instagram now and even on the channel here, but this was the main reason in purchasing this gun, was to be able to make a holster for it, because, you know, I didn't feel like there were any usable holsters on the market. And so I wanted to make one, challenge us to see what we could come up with. The final design is actually going to be slightly different than this holster. I think what I'm going to finally do is open, so that if you are running a suppressor, you could holster it with a suppressor if you truly wanted to. So the final design will have an open muzzle. Otherwise, it's going to be about the same as what you see right now. It's going to have our multi-mount mounting pattern on the back, which would allow you to mount Safariland, Blade Tech. Every major mounting solution fits with that whole pattern. Even like our drop leg panel would work with it as well. So when you see this video, this holster will also be released. So if you're interested in something like that, it's going to be made from 0.93 inch Kydex, which allows it to be a little thicker than our standard 0.08. So it just works a little bit better. So 0.093, I'm sorry. So it's a little bit stiffer than our 0.08 inch Kydex for something like this. So keep an eye out on the channel, keep an eye out on our Instagram, and we'll have those released shortly. I appreciate y'all stopping by and taking a look at this thing. As always, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.